welcome to another exciting episode of Q and Vibe. Andy, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm well.
You sure?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's been windy and sunny at the same time.
Same as weather.
Is
Let's
it?
face it. It's not that great.
Yeah, but
The
I
weather is
like
not that good.
it because a part of it has, comes with the sun, and to be fair, it's okay. I like the sun. The sun.
When the sun is out, I want it to stay.
We all do.
I don't want it to play hide and seek with me. I don't like hide and seek sunshine. If it's sunny, let it be sunny. If it's not sunny, let it go. We're good.
Okay, so today we will be talking about something very controversial. Is it really controversial? Not really, but it's not controversial actually, but it's quite dicey because. Okay, so the question is, does a lady without a father figure tend to make a good wife? And but sincerely, what do you think? Give it to me straight on. What do you think?
Most likely they wouldn't.
That's not fair.
It's the same with the guys. Like, if it's a boy who doesn't have a mother figure, they probably wouldn't make the best of mates.
Okay.
Compared to somebody who has both parents. And both parents are doing their job the way they should do it. That's the key word.
Okay. So you think that when a girl doesn't have a father figure, she tends to be a terrible wife?
The word terrible is quite a bit too harsh.
No, you can't water it down. If it's terrible, it's terrible. If it's bad, it's bad. There's no.
Let's keep it that way. Yes, exactly. I still stick to that.
Okay, but why would you say that a lady without a father figure tends to be a terrible wife or a bad wife, as the case may be?
I think it's all down to trauma, isn't it? Like, children who grow up without one parent don't see a balanced view of life. That can turn into trauma. That can turn into something that becomes something else that they take into a marital relationship and they add, especially if you've got a couple where maybe the man comes from a very set specific home, mom does something specific as a woman, dad does something specific as dad.
You mean responsibility? Everybody has his responsibility.
No, they all bring their
balance,
their energy into the home. And then you've got this person is now married to a spouse who hasn't seen that balance. I think it causes a friction because I am standing there thinking, well, you should know this. I mean, it's very basic that you know something like this. And that's the way I look at it.
To be fair, I really don't know if it's a 50-50 thing for me because I tend to believe that people make decisions based on experiences that they've faced, yeah? And yes, lacking a father figure could be an experience, but what experience is that? Is it okay to say it's a negative or a positive experience? Because if I narrow it down to a scenario, for instance, I do not know what a father figure is, right? I do not have it. I was born and I saw my mom. My mom raised me well, right? How do I get traumatized from what I do not even know? How is it?
Look, if you say you haven't, a woman can never be a man. First of all, we need to establish that. Okay. A woman can never be a man. Okay. Right? A man can never be a woman. Mm-hmm. So they cannot play that role effectively. Yeah, but they may fill in the gap, but they cannot play that role as effectively as
I think they can if they want to.
A woman can never play the complete role of a man. So, and vice versa. No matter how much we today try to say men and women, we don't want to go into that, but I think it has something to do with that. No matter how much we stand and sing the song, we are all equal. We all have different energies. We bring different elements into a home. And that view is very important for a child to see. I'm not a child psychologist, but I believe that if you haven't seen a certain pattern before, you can't replicate it.
Yeah, okay, but if you say that a child that lacks father figure tends to make terrible wife, what of a child with negative father figure?
Even worse.
Even worse.
Even worse.
Good.
Because you're there and you're causing problems. So that's the model they see. So if a child sees that model, say a child who comes from, we're talking about fathers now, right? Who has seen a father who's abusive, both. Anyway, there's a side effect, and studies have shown that it's actually worse than not having them there at all.
Good. So studies show that it is better not to even have a father figure than to have a negative, abusive, toxic father figure.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, this is my take. I do not believe that situation, yeah, I believe to an extent it has an effect on kids, especially kids who maybe to an extent saw their father. Right? I know it has an effect, but I do not completely agree that because you do not have a father figure in your life, when it comes to marriage, you flop marriage. Now, why I said that is, for instance, if I didn't grow up with a father figure, right? Then I got married. It doesn't totally mean that I do not know the role of a father or I do not know the role of a husband. I don't know if you understand me.
I understand, but I feel
It doesn't mean that I do not because society, you see, where your parents don't teach up to, society covers up for that. And that's one thing they say back home. It is not just one person that trains a child. The society trains the child. So are you going to say that because this child doesn't have a father figure, automatically becomes a nuisance to the society? I don't think that is completely true. If a child wants to be a nuisance, it is their personal decision, right? If I go through trauma, say in the hands of a negative father, when I get married, one of the things that will guide me in picking a husband will be not to have a repetition of what my father was to me, to my children. I will be very cautious not to pick a partner that will repeat the same events I went through in the hands of my father to my children. Now, what that makes me be is cautious, extremely cautious, careful. I am determined not to let my children go through what I have been through. Now, I think that is being hyper. I think that is being extra careful. It doesn't mean that, oh, because my father was negative, my children have to go through negative one. Because what it shows is that children without father figure tend to have a whole lot of. I was reading it out online, and it said children without father figures are depressed. They tend to lack confidence, and the rest. A whole lot of things were listed, right? And I feel like we can deal with these things if we want to. It is not just not having a father figure that makes you depressed. Even situations, even children who have father figures, positive father figures, are still depressed, either from
Well,
one thing or the other.
when they talk about depression, when they talk about things like insecurity, depression, lack of confidence, abandoned, fear of abandonment, all these things are really pertaining to family life. Sometimes it's not in general. Sometimes in society, you might find that that is true. And I totally believe that's that. Now, I'm not saying that there are people, we are human beings, we can change. Okay. I'm not saying that a child can grow up to make different decisions. Yeah, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the masses, when you take the large number of people, this is what happens. A lot of people are not able to break free from that. Now, you talked about being hyper in your decisions. That is an extreme that actually stresses a relationship. When you're too hyper in on one side, it causes relationship stress.
In the relationship. It's not in the relationship.
Example.
It
Let me
makes
give you
you.
another
It makes
example.
you hyper in your decision. What I mean by that is, so if I have a target, if my list checklist for a man is this, I will now add. I don't want my children to go through the same thing I went through, so I'm gonna watch out for a man whose anger or who doesn't have anger issue, because my dad had anger issue and so he pounced on us. Things like that, for example. I'm gonna look for a man who is not maybe flirtatious, because my dad used to change women like rappers. So I knew that was one of the reasons. These are things that would just guide me in taking my decision. But then
again, you forget that we now have people who want a perfect 10 list. And some of it comes from trauma. Some people think that, oh, it's just what I want, but they don't realize that.
No, Andy,
Because they've
I
had
want
an
you to understand what I'm
experience.
trying to say. I'm not disputing, or I'm not watering down trauma. Trauma exists. We go through trauma based on what we have faced in life, right? Well, my question is, why does trauma not channel us to take positive decision? Why does it lead us to negative? Which takes me to my own answer. It is a personal decision. There are people who go through trauma and decide not to replicate it. This is not going to be a generational thing. My children are not going to face this. There are people who didn't go to school. Education was very difficult for them, and they say, "Oh, my child will not go through this. I'm going to go through extra to make sure my child has education." These are what we go through in life. You do not want your child to go through the same challenges you went through, and so you curtail these things. You work extra hard to curtail whatever it is. So my question is, if research says that girls without father figure turn out to be terrible ones, it means the girls have decided to move on this generation, this pattern. Do you understand where I'm coming from?
I understand, but decision making is based on experience. It's based on what you have seen and what you have heard. We don't take decisions from things we do not know. If I'm going to cross a road, I would be crossing that road based on information I have gathered about crossing a road and what I have learned from other people. You understand? And also preservation of life. That's the last thing I'll be considering. So if I'm crossing that road, I might be looking, okay, if I haven't crossed the road before and I'm a child, you see a lot of children who just rush into the road. They don't know. They don't know yet. At this point, they don't know that experience of the dangers of crossing a road without looking or without waiting. So parents or mothers will always drag them back, like, come back here, this is what you do. You need to look left, right, left, right. Look at how this person crossed the road. That way, that child learns how to do that. It's based on their experience. So when they grow and they have to cross a road, they will take decision based on the information they were given or the experience they had. My point is that people do not just decide to be good because they just made that decision. People do not just decide. You cannot just decide and say, okay, I faced it, so I won't let my children face it. Yes, you can make that decision. But it's not as simple as making that decision. Otherwise, we wouldn't have that situation. We wouldn't have a study like this. Everyone would be saying, I went through that. I won't allow my children to go through that. So that's it. I'm going to correct this. Some people genuinely try hard not to let their children go through that. But eventually, those children end up doing it. Or somebody might grow up through that and might say, I do not want to do that. I resist doing that. But the decisions they make, unfortunately, leads that way.
Sincerely, Andy, I still stand on what I believe. I do not believe that women that lack father figure turns out to be terrible wife, because you are the architect of who you are. You sharpen your life the way you want it. You just said now that children or girls with negative father influence turns out to be worse.
Why is that?
Exactly what I was going to ask you. Why are they? But there's a father figure there.
But the father figure, the model they are seeing, is a bad model.
Okay.
So they would make decisions based on that bad model.
Now they know it is a bad model because the
They do not know when
society
they're a child.
But you're not okay. Let me ask you something. If I have a child whose father is present till a particular age, and this father walks away. Now, during the time he was available, he has instilled discipline. He's been there, he's been a great role model, and then walks away. Will that child also turn out to be a negative?
High possibility.
Why?
Because there is a fear of abandonment.
Okay.
There are children, and if you read this, I'm sure you read it, there is that fear of abandonment. They are afraid that this man that's in my life right now is just going to jet off. He's going to disappear, just like my dad did. So especially if that child's father disappeared for whatever reason, and that wasn't dealt with over time, or nobody else stood in the place to say, I am the father figure. I am present. I am here. And because one thing you need to understand, that male energy brings stability. It should bring stability. So that when you come into a home and there's a male figure, there should be stability there. So if a child goes through a home, then there's no father figure. What then tends to happen? This is based on what I've read online.
Okay.
They are not settled. And then all of a sudden this man disappears. So if nobody takes that place to give this child as something to look at, or a model to look at, to say, okay, there is a man here who is stable, who is here to do you understand?
And if I listen to you carefully, it's not just a child without a father figure. A child with a negative father figure tends to mess up marriage. A child with no father figure tend to mess up marriage.
True.
Tend to mess up. So can possibility.
Can. It's a possibility, yes.
Because when we say these things happen, it's like you're encouraging people to toe that line. Oh, my marriage broke because I didn't have a father figure. And then we give people reasons to
mess up.
Yeah, not to even
Not to take
try.
responsibility.
Not to take responsibility
for
for
what's
their action. Because I believe that people should take responsibility. If I see that this thing is wrong, it didn't go well with me, my duty is to make sure it ends with me. I correct it in the
Yes.
next one.
Yes.
So if I'm choosing a man, I cannot say that because I didn't have a father figure, then my children.
What you lack should be a guidance to getting what you
Yes,
need
because
for your children.
whether we like it or not, the society shapes us to an extent. The society says the narrative. Even if in a family where it's just like I gave an example. I said, in a house where the father beats the mom every time and there are children there growing up, a time will come when that child will confront the father and say, stop beating mom. Why? Because they have seen that this is not the right way it should be. They didn't need an outsider, or they didn't need the father to come and tell them.
I mean, wrong is wrong, so I'm conscious most of the time.
Exactly.
And if there's pain, don't forget we are human beings and we process pain, and pain is not a good thing. So if we are seeing things that is causing pain, that's why for me, if you notice in the previous conversations, I've said I don't understand how somebody can inflict pain on another person and be comfortable, because we process pain just by seeing it. So a child can look and process that pain, and that pain can be processed emotionally, internally, mentally.
Yeah, but if now I get your point, really, I do get your point. But if you say that it can be processed, it's something you see. What of a child that was born into this thing? It becomes the norm for him.
Yes.
Right? You were born into it. And if you say, thank you, if you say, oh, the mom is still there, so he's saying the mom being beaten, so, and the mom is shouting, so he should know his pain. No. He was born into it. One, the mom is not living, so the mom is okay with it. Right. Well, why should I be bothered?
That's why, again, if you think about it, I can tell you a story of somebody I know again. And this is a situation where dad was very abusive, very, very abusive, physically abusive towards mom. And it went on for a while until the mom decided one day she almost died. And then she decided she's going to pick her 3 children, she's going to leave. So she fled the country completely, and the man trailed her everywhere she went until she eventually ended up back home, where, you know, the way family deals with issues, they dealt with them, and that was the end. Now, this young man actually said to me eventually that he would, we grew up together, it's something that he would never ever do. He saw the pain. Although he grew up in it, he saw the pain. This is somebody who is a very responsible man, has his own, shall I say, businesses that he's doing. You can see this is a very responsible person. But when he got married, he tried to be a good person. And in fact, he's a wonderful man. Everything about this man, perfect. But that is something that reared its head. At some point, the moment he started this, aggressive yelling, the next minute, and that happens in marriage. You get angry, you yell, you understand. So from there, it graduated to pushing, then moved into physical abuse.
Yeah, now,
and then,
okay, great.
Now,
so let's use
he
this
has just
person as an example. Now, do you think this, but are you now? If you ask him, he will say, "Oh, because I saw my father."
He might not say that, and in fact, there's every remorse to say, "I do not want to do that." But when aggression takes place, I find it as an easier way out. It was an easy way for him out.
So
there's no.
Are we saying he inherited that from his father?
Yes. No, not biologically. He didn't inherit that biologically. He learned by watching.
Now he learns by watching, but he too knows that what he has learned is wrong.
Exactly.
So So you see that everything we do is our decision. He's old enough to know, even at the point before he got married, he knew that what the father was doing was wrong. But he grew up and decided to toe that line. It became an easier route for him. Now, another person who is quite responsible, because I beg to differ, that person is not responsible. Another person will say, no, I saw my mom go through torture. I cannot inflict that on another woman. I cannot subject another woman to that pain. So you see that our experience makes us take decision. Now, the person we are decides what decision we take. Is it a positive one or a negative one? I do not doubt the fact that maybe statistics shows that most of these women end up to be terrible wives. I do not question that. I do not doubt it. Probably. But it is a shame to see that people who went through certain situations who you would expect to take positive decision as to not repeating the same narrative end up doing the same exact thing that they've gone through. Do you understand?
Yeah, sometimes it's human psychology. I'm not a psychologist again. I try to understand why people do the things they do. It's sort of like in the Bible, Paul says that I want to do this, but I find myself doing this. This is not what I want to do, but I find myself doing this. Why is that? Why is that my in my soul, in my spirit, I want to do the right thing, but physically for some reason I feel bound. And I feel that the reason is because when we're growing, we have all this information that we are taking in. That's why sometimes you will find that certain people do not have the tendency at all to be certain things. It's not them. Certain people, no matter what you do, they have the tendency of being that. Do they have the right to choose? Yes, they have the right to choose. Again, they can make the correct decision at every point in time.
Okay, so let's push it forward a bit. So one of the reasons why we have seen that argument spring up times without number is that women that lack father figures do not respect men. Do you think that's true?
I don't think that's true.
Okay.
I don't think it's because they don't respect men. I think that, yes, it could be. It depends on how mom raised them. And that's what is called hyper independence, where a woman will say, I don't need a man. I don't need a man because mom actually instilled in them, I can do it myself. I didn't need a man to do this. And mom raised them as mom and dad at the same time and creates the tough hand and the soft hand. But then, like I said from the beginning, a woman can never be a man can never be a woman. No matter what we do, she will go wrong somewhere at some point. And that's where that hyper independence comes in. A girl child grows up and then comes out with that, I don't need a man. It's hyper. It's not as though, and we all know that both genders need each other. Men need women, women need men.
So it is not the absence of a father that makes a girl disrespect her husband or disrespect a man. Mindset that has been pushed, the narrative that has been pushed by a single mother who is clearly pained by the absence of the father.
Absolutely.
And then they teach their daughters not to have or depend on a man so as not to be sorry at the end of the day. So can you now say this is exactly where I come into this is what I say every time. Because when we keep pushing this narrative, you can also see a woman, this is another scenario, you can also see a woman who lost the husband and say, oh no, I'm not going to remarry, I'm just going to take care of my children, raise them so that they become something. Because if I get married to another man, I probably will still have kids and be raising those people, raising those children. Or this man may not accept my children the way I want him to raise them. So let me focus on my kids. Now, why I say this is because recently we saw a post where a preacher, a man of God, stood on the pulpit and said that he will never allow his son get married to a girl without a father figure or a father figure. Right? And when I saw that post, I felt disappointed.
I saw that post.
Good. I felt disappointed because I don't think it's everything that should be said publicly. There are some mindset that should be kept for yourself, right? Because whether you like it or not, in that congregation, there are girls without father figure. So you're telling them that even as you come to my church to worship, you're not worthy of my son. So if my son likes you, I'm not going to give a pass mark to you. For situations they did not take part in, situations they know nothing about. Do you understand? They were not there. They didn't ask the man to leave. They are not the reason for the fight. They know nothing. It is just situation that has led them
so let
there.
me ask a question, right? Again, we'll get back to this preacher's comment. But personally, I don't think that he did anything wrong. That is, preachers preach their congregation based on their understanding of doctrine and word and whatever. That's what they preach.
That's a stigma.
Well,
no, there's no way you You quote it, you can't water it, and that
I'm
is
not
direct
watering.
stigma.
I'm not
You
watering
are
it down.
stigmatizing girls without father figure. You are saying that they tend to be bad wives, but the truth of the matter
I don't remember. See, I saw that post, and I
Yeah,
don't
and
think he said they were bad wives.
no,
per
no,
se.
no.
He said
Let's
he just
get it
wouldn't
right. Let's get this
agree
right.
to
He
that.
said, I cannot allow my son marry a girl without a father figure.
Why?
Then he went on to say, oh, Pastor, are you saying she can't lose her father? What if the father died? Say yes, her father died, but let there be a man playing a father figure.
Exactly.
Hold on. It's okay to say that. It's nice. It sounds very nice, right? So my father is the only child and he died. My mom single-handedly raised us. Where should I get a father figure if I don't have an uncle? In other words, you're saying my single mother who have devoted her time to training us should go looking for a man to come act as a father figure to children who is not his. Do you see how you drag things? Now, why do I say that is a stigma? Like I said earlier, there are girls in that congregation who what he just described is their situation. There are situations we're not the cause of this situation. We can't correct it. Do not blame us for it. Do you?
I don't feel like he was. I don't think he was blaming the girls. It's a situation that's
He
there.
is not blaming the girls,
Good.
but
So-
he is stigmatizing the girls.
Okay, I mean, let's call it stigmatizing. Let's call it whatever, right? He stated a fact, and the question I have for you is: let's say you
Because
read-
facts stigmatize people. Okay, I'm listening to your question.
So you read all these side effects or all these effects of girls without father figures. So I don't like to use just girls because I know boys also have their own issue. You understand?
Okay.
It's even worse for boys when there's no father.
Okay.
It's worse. If you read it, you would see what I mean. But then let's just assume you've seen all these side effects and everything that's and the side effects. Being a mother, would you have if you have a girl that has both parents at home? Say you have a girl, three different girls. One has both parents at home, right? Great parents. They're doing that. They're not the best, but they are a great example. One with a single mother, also doing a job as is, and then one with an abusive father, and you know all these 3. Your son comes to you and says, okay, this is this girl, this is that girl. What would you say to him? Which one would you think is the best suitor?
You know, I love this question, and in as much as I knew that was where we were going to, I was patiently waiting for
I know you were waiting.
Now, the truth of the matter is, it is not in my place to tell my son who to marry.
If you could.
Hold on, I'm going there. It is not in my place to tell him who to marry. If I could, I will say this: choose according to your heart. Because Andy, let's not be deceived. You see, a girl with a good family home, if she did not learn from her family, she can still turn out to be a tigress. You cannot tell me. No, you cannot tell me.
What is the tendency?
Andy, you cannot say that every good home you have seen produces good children.
That's not what we're saying.
That's what you're giving me. You're telling me I should tell my son to go for the girl who went.
I'm not saying you
No,
should.
you asked me a question and I'm trying to answer you, right? You've given me 3 family, and which will I advise my son to go for? It is okay to assume that the girl with an abusive father might be traumatized. Great. No argument on that, right? It is also okay to say that the girl with a great family has great upbringing. It is okay to assume that. Yeah? But have you heard the saying they say that na pastor pikin na im dey spoil pass? Hold on, hold that up. Hold that up.
You're taking my question out of context.
No, I'm not taking it. I'm taking you there so you understand my answer.
My question was,
what will I advise him?
No, my question was, pay attention, my question was, all things being equal.
Okay.
All levels being equal.
You gave me 3 levels.
3. So, all these 3, 3 here. Girl 1, brilliant parents, doing their job. The girl seem responsible. Good.
Girl 2, single mother, doing her job.
Doing her job. Girl seem responsible. Girl 3. So, in this case, your son comes to you and say, really, give me an advice. Who would you say I should go for?
Then that's where I tell him, make a choice. They're all responsible. They're great children.
Let's just assume.
Yeah, they're all. I've seen them. I know them. They're all responsible. Mom, I'm confused. I don't know.
Just give me an idea. Which one?
Which one will I go for?
If you are.
Now, let me ask you something. What if the single mother was my friend?
No. Forget that. Wait, let's leave that.
I'm telling you them, my decision is not based on the family they have come from. That's what I'm trying to tell you. And you know where you got it wrong in your narrative is how can these three people who have different, one great couple, one single mother, one abusive, all turn out to be responsible? Did you ask yourself that?
No. Okay. So
now, because they turn out to be responsible, reason for my question. So you want me to choose one? You made it easier for me to choose.
Exactly. That's the reason. But the reason also is to make you understand that if the skills were balanced, there would be a choice. If I'm a man and the skills were balanced, knowing what that's why we're saying that all things being equal. Okay. If the playing field was leveled amongst all of these,
I will let him pick the one he wants.
If I were to be the father, let's say if knowing what I know now as a man, all things being equal, I will go for the girl that's
both family. So let's work with what you have said.
That's
awesome.
Me. All things being equal.
Yeah,
right?
You will ask him to go for the one with both family, right? Mm-hmm. Present. Great. Now, at what point do you now tell your son if he chooses the one with the single mom? Do you say no? You're never marrying that girl.
That is still his choice.
Whose choice?
So his choice. Whose choice are you talking about? He chooses who he wants to marry.
Your son, right?
Exactly.
That's his choice. Mm-hmm. My point exactly. Yes. So I think it is wrong for you to come on the pulpit and say that I will never allow my son marry a girl without a father figure. And even if she doesn't have a father, she should have a man playing a father figure in her life. Mm-hmm. We don't deserve. So what happens to the people in the orphanage home? Mm-hmm. Now, these are men of God we look up to. Mm-hmm. No matter the situation
I don't think we should judge the man of God.
No, you're not getting my point. I am not judging him. And why should I not judge him if he has just judged the gender? He has just, not the gender, if he has just judged a set of people, be it male or female, if you even say that I will not allow my daughter marry a boy who doesn't have a mother figure, I still have an issue with that. That is you stigmatizing a set of people who do not have a say in the condition they found themselves.
That's true.
I did not make myself lack father figure. It was my mom's doing. Do you judge me for that? No. Have you allowed me go into marriage and see if I will flop? I could even be a better wife.
I would rather avoid a collateral damage.
That's the problem. Now, in avoiding that collateral damage you talk about, I am the one who faced the penalty. Yes. I am the one that lacks a husband because you are avoiding a collateral damage. Mm-hmm. I am the one who is facing the penalty. Mm-hmm. So it's at my expense. So you judge me even before you're judging me by what my parents did. Okay. Do you understand?
It's understood. See,
I do not doubt that, like you said, data could show that except this group of people do this more. People who lack father figure tend to be bad wife, a lot of them. So let's assume that's okay. Statistics are shown. Those are the ones who refuse to walk out of the situation they were born into. Mm-hmm. But don't come and say that I would never. I think what you should say, I will get to know the girl first and see if she's healed from her trauma. Because this is a church where I bet you...
Which is true, but I don't want us to go into what a pastor said, what he did not say. I think that could be a topic for another day if what he said is right or wrong. But I believe, like I was saying, that there's a lot of preachers who have doctrines of what they preach. There was a pastor once that came up and said, you have to pay your tithe. If you don't pay your tithe, you go to hell. It was preached to this church. His church members had to bring tithe because they knew.
Yeah, but that didn't stigmatize anybody.
No, but then it stigmatized somebody who doesn't have money. What if I don't have money to pay tithe?
Then I don't have tithe. If you don't have money,
okay, so then you know
have tithe.
So do you realize the number of people that feel bad that the only £100 they have, they cannot even afford a tiny bit out of it?
No, you don't get it. You're mixing the dots. If I say, I don't want us to shift from our topic, but if I say that, if I'm not saying what he said is right? But if I say that if you do not pay your tithe, you go to hell. It is 10% of what you've gotten. So you walk. 10% of what you've gotten is what I'm asking for. So if you're working and you're earning, be it 1,000, bring in that 10 naira, right? So it's not that they don't have money. Do you get the
But then,
difference? So you're
yes,
not
I get it.
stigmatizing
But
anybody.
then, see, whether you are speaking it out loud or not, again, this is a doctrine that has destroyed somebody's soul, believe it or not. Do you understand? This is a doctrine that somebody's looking at. I don't even have money. Even the 100 now I'm getting or 1,000 now I'm getting, it's not even enough to feed my kids. Then a pastor comes to stage to say, if I don't pay, I have to go to hell. Knowing very well, this woman believes in the doctrine and believes in you so much and wants to make heaven. So do you
It's a
where
different
it
case
is
when you
what the point
stigmatize
the
people who
point
have nothing to do with this
the
situation
point
they
I am
found themselves.
so does
I
that
can even
person
stigmatize that person for being poor. Why are you poor?
how does that even happen?
I'm not supporting it. I'm
This
just
is
saying
one
how
thing. This is
it is
see
to this
the,
thing.
you see, we cannot pick one sin and say one is bigger than the other one. We cannot
I'm
pick
not
one
doing
wrong
that.
and say
I'm
one
not
is big.
doing
That's
that.
what we're
I'm
doing
just
now.
okay.
Right? So you cannot say, oh, because you should work and be able to get some money, the fact that you didn't pay time, I can come and stand and say, I can stigmatize you for that. No, do you know how much people get destroyed? Their soul gets destroyed because of
So
this.
yeah, so that goes
So
to say that pastors should
pastors
watch what they
watch
can say. They are role models. They are people who look up to them. They should watch what they say. We got a story from someone. We'll read this story and we'll talk a little about it, and then we forge ahead. So this is a story from one of our friends. Femi and I have been dating for 7 years now. 7 years is a lot of time.
Oh, I date somebody for 7 years, but I'm not gonna judge.
Don't do that.
We don't judge, we listen.
We met during our final year in school. After school, it was easier for me to get a job in my father's company, but took Femi 4 years to even land a not so great job. During those times, he didn't have a job. I supported him the best way I could. Placed him on a monthly stipend, went food shopping for him, just basic things to survive while he hunted for job. Great wife material.
Yep, we think so, but
We were so in love and anyone around us knew us. When are we coming to eat rice was the common question, although Femi had popped the question and I had said yes, but we were not financially okay to take up such projects. So we patiently waited for Femi to get a job while imagining what our dream wedding would be like. Oh, did I forget to tell you a little about myself? My father died when I was 8 years, leaving my mom with the burden of raising 3 kids and a dying company. But with the help of my two uncles, mom brought the company to what it is now, having my two elder brothers hold major position in the company while grooming me to take up a major role in the company. During our 5th year, Femi got a job. Though not what we wanted, but it was better than sitting at home. 1 year after he got this job, he decided we should go see his parents so we could start our wedding plans properly. Femi did love her. I think I'm just saying. Femi's parents said to him that they appreciate my effort all this while, but they had vowed not to allow their son marry any girl without a father figure.
so 7 years don't spoil them. 7 years just went down the drain, right?
Even when Femi had told them that I have uncles, they still declined, saying those uncle has children. Those uncle has their own children to raise, and so had no time to raise me.
That's a silly excuse.
1-0. That's harsh. I was so hurt I didn't know what to do, but I had loved Femi enough not to make him choose between me or his family. Now this is so touching.
It doesn't touch me, honestly.
I have
It's
loved
okay.
Femi enough.
So did she walk away eventually?
That's what it means. I was so hot, I didn't know what to do. But I had loved Femi enough not to make him choose between me or his family. 7 years gone down the drain. 7 years of emotional,
Investments.
financial.
Again, okay, so me, if you ask me, for example, so what's the question now? What's
This is
the
just
question?
I'm just connected to our topic, right? Father figure and parent deciding not to allow children bond because they have a mindset that it will never turn. Like what you said, you want to avert the risks before it happens. Risks you don't even know if it will happen.
Yeah, but then if you think about it, like men will always count costs. Like I always say, you have to count costs when building. Okay, that's why I gave you the scenarios, the 3 scenarios, right? You will count the cost. You will find out who makes better than the other. And usually, when we fail to count the cost, there are repercussions. Now, you may count the cost and know the risk, and you will still scale through without changing the risk.
Andy,
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Ever gone to marry and the two couple are frowning?
No, never.
Have you, right?
That never happens.
You know why I asked you that question?
Go
Because
ahead.
when it comes to marriage, it's a journey you are about to embark on. A journey filled with uncertainty. A journey you don't even know what the outcome will be. But you're happy going into it. Now, because there is a stigma attached. Now, this is a stigma we create for ourselves. Sincerely, we do. Because there is a stigma attached to this person, you automatically have seen that this journey won't go well because she doesn't have a father figure.
There must be reasons. Because I believe that the parents maybe are looking at certain signs, back from the way they are. They may not be exposed. Maybe their generation is different. So they might say, oh, it may not be good for you for this, may not be good for you for that. But if you ask my opinion and think that, so are they saying that for the 7 years that she dated this girl, they did not know the girl did not have a father?
Okay, good question. So why didn't they talk about it at that point?
Maybe they didn't see the seriousness. Maybe the guy had a side chick. You never know.
No, I do not. I judge story based on what is being given to me. Yes, that story given to me. That was 7 years. You cannot tell me that. But
does the parents know they dated for 7 years?
You cannot tell me that they did not know.
Did the parents know that this guy was serious to get married to this girl and for 7 years?
Okay, so let's work with what you have said because as far as I'm concerned, you're trying to create an excuse for them.
No, I'm not creating an excuse.
I'm just trying to work with. Let's work with your excuse, right? As a father, should you not tell your parents? Because I remember growing up, my parents used to tell us, would you not have a problem with any child you pick as a spouse? They did tell us. Also, I remember when I went to serve, I met someone who said the mom told her specifically that there are tribes she cannot marry from. So she has it at the back of her head. Now, if this is something you have vowed for your children, shouldn't you let them know before time, before they start courting, that, oh, my father will not accept children or spouses that do not have complete parents? Is it not something they should talk about? Now, do you see when I said to you that the stigma or the is at the expense of somebody, this whole decision, whose expense? The girl.
What about the guy?
How does it affect him? He moves.
Why does it? What? The girl won't move on?
That's really not fair.
No, what do you mean that's not fair?
That's not fair.
The guy is going to move on, the girl is going to move on. It's not at the expense. It's the parents saying you cannot marry this person. So the guy obviously is going to be in some form of pain too. That's why I say maybe he had a side chick. If he had a side chick, then obviously that's not the case. Then we are assuming that he did.
I do not preach narrative of side chick. You make it look as though
this
is what is obtainable. Men always men don't do that. So let's not preach side chick.
No. Let's not get it twisted. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just trying to read it from different angles.
I think you're trying to defend the parents. So, there's a side chick, that's why.
No. I'm not trying to defend the parents. No. The only defense I'm trying to give the parents is that they've given birth to a child that they love. And they would like the child to take the best decision. So if the child is bringing a child home or a wife home, a suitor home, and our alarm bells are ringing, we will raise it.
Andy,
do you understand?
Wouldn't it be a great discussion if you sit your son down and say, how do you know this girl? How long have you known her? What are the traits she has? A girl that doesn't have father figure tends to be disrespectful. She doesn't respect the position of a man. Then hear your son speak. No, mom, no, daddy. I have been with this girl for 7 years and she's an excellent person.
What if that conversation had happened and they still insisted?
Now that's where I expect the man to take responsibility for that woman he has chosen. His parents should not decide who he marries.
Of course, decision for who you marry should be your own choice, shouldn't it? You should make that decision yourself.
Now, this is what we are missing out, right? This is what we're missing out. These parents don't even know the issue why they are rejecting their son from marrying a good girl. As far as I'm concerned, this is a good character. This is somebody who has some. What do you need?
How is that a good character?
I'm citing out what I've seen, right? What I've heard in this story. Let's walk with the narrative. What else does a man want in a woman? If you stay that
long, let me ask you a few questions.
Hold on, Andy. If you have stayed this long in a relationship, 7 years, and at just 1 year you came in contact with finance, you want to marry her, do you not think that man recognizes that this is a good asset to have? Do you not think so?
I didn't get your question. Sorry, ask that question.
I said, If a man has been in a relationship for 7 years, and the first year he came in contact with money, he wants to marry his girlfriend of 7 years, do you not think he's seen qualities worth keeping? 7 years is a long time.
Oh, yes.
Right. Now, your mother is telling you, based on whatever I know, this thing I know, maybe so auntie that didn't have father in her life kept jumping from one husband to the other, one husband to, and then they now believe that because she didn't have a father, that's why she's like that. So we have decided that none of our children will do that. But you forget that if you move further to another town, there's another girl too who didn't even have father or mother, and she has stayed close to 30 years in marriage, like what you said. It's not a 50-50. There are people who do well even with their situation, and people who turn out bad even with a good situation. So I do not agree to this decision. I still think it is stigma. You're stigmatizing people who do not have parents. She did not cause the death of her father. So why should it stop her from marrying somebody that she's in love with? Somebody she has devoted her time, energy, money, emotions to. Why? Why should it stop? Why? Why should they stop her?
Well, the point I only stand on is the same point I've been saying, right? So, first of all, they give birth to their child. Their child they love their child. They don't want their child to go into anything that they are going to regret later on. It's what parents do. Maybe they're trying to protect their child out of ignorance. I don't think they're stigmatizing it. So, because you don't know the father, that I'm trying to take the maliciousness out of it, if you understand what I'm trying to say.
You can't do that.
What I'm
You
trying
can't
to
say they are not trying to.
everybody does something for themselves. So I don't think they're pushing her aside, because from the story, this girl seemed well to do. She seemed responsible. She probably comes out better than the guy, shows up better than the guy. So there's barely any stigma there. The only
No,
stigma.
you're not getting my point. When I say stigma, I'm not saying that the family is stigmatizing the girl as one person. No. It is a narrative that is being preached now. You're stigmatizing girls without family figure. You are telling them that they cannot amount to be a good wife. It's a stigma you have placed on them. And that in every ramification is wrong. You don't say that because I may come out from a terrible family and decide to have an amazing family for myself. Yet, I can have someone who came out from an amazing family and do worse in the next family she's creating. So it's not a guarantee that everything that comes from this ends up like this.
But the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. Which means that it's still back to what I'm saying, is that the masses and the large number of people will be like that. If it, yes, it could be stigma. It could be collateral damage. Whatever it is, it does not change the fact. It does not mean that there are good ones in there. That's not the point. There are good ones in there. That's what I'm trying to say. So there are good ones in there, which is okay, fine. But it does not also mean that they are all going to be good. So, okay, because there could be that 1 or 2% or 10% that could turn out great, let's take the bigger risk. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I get you.
Good. So, I'm not saying that it is right for them to look at this person and say, because of you. Neither all is right.
So what advice do you have for this family now? What advice do you have for the girl?
The girl? Move on. Is there any other thing you can say than move on?
Auntie, you sometimes sound very
Heartless.
cold.
No, it's not being cold. It's the fact.
That's 7 years.
7 years. So what she go back and beg?
Do you think she should
Move on.
Okay. What advice do you have for the family?
The boy's family? Don't do that again. Leave your child to make his own choices. And if it's not going to go well, let him deal with it. Leave your child to make the choices. Don't interfere. You can advise as parents, oh, don't do this way. Don't do that this way. Because of this, because of that. At the end of the day, it's your decision. You decide to go there, it's fine. Who knows? It can turn out better than our marriage. So what's the big deal there?
Okay, so we spent a lot of time deliberating on this, and we can go on and keep dragging. But the truth, I think the truth is, or my truth is, I stand to be corrected. My truth is, I don't think people should be stigmatized for what they do not know.
That's true.
How they got it, or how they got themselves in that situation. People should not be stigmatized for that. If somebody wants to get married, allow them take that decision. Allow them make their mistakes.
But
How they
before
learn.
we finish, let me interrupt.
Okay, then.
In today's day and age, do parents still say to their children, "You're not going to marry that person and it's final"? Does that still
Yeah,
happen?
it does. Back home, it does a lot of times. It does.
Okay.
It does a lot of time. Because we have the mindset that when you're marrying, you're not just marrying the person,
Right.
marrying the family. Sometimes people say if the family doesn't accept you, don't even go in.
Which is true.
Yeah, so
Very
because
true.
it's a big community.
That's
If
right.
it's here, you'll know that your marriage is just you and that person. But back home, it is the whole family, the community as a whole. So please, parents out there, do not stigmatize children who do not have father figure. As a matter of fact, I think they should encourage them because it's not their doing. I keep emphasizing on this. It has nothing to do with them.
Choose that life. That life chose them. So I think the people that need to be spoken to the more will be maybe the parents.
The parents.
Not the children.
Should be spoken to. And this narrative should stop. Or that they can't amount to good wives, they can't respect men. No, I don't need to have a father to know how to respect a man. I could learn to respect a man just by going to school.
That's probably can be another conversation for another day.
My social media tells me the role of a man. All I need to do is Google. What is the role of a man? It teaches me that. If I ask Siri, what is the role of a man? If I say, tell me, the word is digitalized. What exactly do you need a father? I said no.
The world is digitalized. I think that's where the world keeps going because
No, we cannot make an invention that destroys us.
We can.
We allow that. And we're not going to change our topic.
We're not changing the topic.
We're not changing our topic. We're not changing our topic. Let's go back to what we're saying.
Let's not
We
tell
and you
people.
can keep dragging this thing. Yeah, but no.
Let's not tell people to go and learn certain things from social media.
No,
it's the worst place to learn anything about relationship.
Don't get me wrong.
It's never the right place.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm saying if this is what, so a man is supposed to teach me, a father is supposed to teach me how to respect a man. If I don't have that person, what is my alternative? Do I have an uncle? Do I have a role model family I see? Does the society teach me that there are many other ways? Do not cancel that person because this particular person is not available to teach them. So automatically they can never get it right. No, there are other ways to get it right.
That is 100%
Other
true.
ways to get it right. So thank you for correcting me. Maybe we should not learn some things from social media, but there are other ways to learn things. And you could, right? They could be the most.
Don't ask me again. It could, right?
No, but it could.
It could.
Okay. So yeah,
But the fear usually is we need to be wrapping up now. But the fear though is like we need to understand that when we say certain things that we say in society that people have said from the past has a bearing on life.
Yes, it is.
We should not discard everything that came from the past and say, oh yeah, we're in a new age, so we forget everything that we was past knowledge, 1,000 years of knowledge that was passed down to us and say,
it does. Andy, I agree it does. What is it that it does? A woman that or a girl that doesn't have a father figure can lack this or that. Right? It can. That is to the end of this show. We could talk from now to tomorrow. It's me and Andy. We always talk. And trust me, when we put down the camera, we will continue deliberating on this topic. But let's let you people be. So please when you see our videos, just comment, share your own idea, and you can send us your stories. We can make our topic based on the stories you send to us as possible. And also click your notification button so that when we pop up any video, you will be the first to see. The more you like, the more you comment, it gives us more energy to come behind the scene and, set the camera rolling. Andy, do you have anything else to say? No, I think that's it. We probably must have talked a lot about this. Then again, there's a lot of people who have different ideologies, different mentalities about it, but it boils down to one thing. You don't stigmatize people or you don't box everybody and say, oh, because you're this. If you find yourself in a particular situation, deal with it in a particular way. Studies are there just to show us, to caution us, don't do that.
but it's not the end all and be all. If you are in that situation, it doesn't mean it cannot work. It only means that you can represent yourself as a better person in that person's life. I understand you. And I understand you didn't have a father. I don't understand this. So let me represent that for you. Or let me help you heal or go over that hurdle. It's not going to be easy, but why do we say love conquers all? Oh, it's what it is. It is what it is. So till next time we'll come your way again. I remain Quincy and he is Andrew. Ah yeah, I love you. We will talk later. Bye yeah.